Are y'all ready to get this started? 3, 2, 1.
Going live.
Hey, I know what time it is.
You know what it is.
You are now tuning into the best business radio program in Central VA.
Turn it up.
On the mic with Mike on WJFM Radio.
Mike King isn't a businessman. He's a businessman with his own talk show. On the mic with Mike, the best business radio program in the game.
Ladies and gentlemen, the time is 1:35. On the mic with Mike. You heard the man. This is the best business radio program around. I'm your host, Mike King. I appreciate you being here with me. I'd like to thank Carl Knobloch of SBA. So, if you need SBA help, make sure you contact them. Go ahead and get that SBA money. It's out there to help your business. Up next, we have City Councilman Mike Jones, the Reverend Dr. Mike Jones. Sir, welcome to the program.
Mike, thanks for having me on.
All righty. So, give our folks, our listeners, an idea. They know who you are. A lot of them know. Tell us who you are, and then we'll dive into some of the exciting things that you got going on, sir.
Well, hey, I'm Michael Jones. I am the son of Edgar and Evelyn Jones at Navy SEAL. And
you got to give that shout out.
Man, you got to. We're going way back. Let's go way back.
Yeah, we got to start that. You got to give a shout out to the people. I understand.
Indeed. But no, I am a licensed minister. Went to seminary right here in the city, Virginia Union University, School of Theology, the Samuel DeWitt School of Theology. Pastored a couple churches, Main Baptist Church up in King William County, then in the city right here at Fourth Baptist Church until really felt led to go out and start a different type of work. So I founded the Village of Faith about 16 years ago. Been ripping and running with that. Then wanted to get into politics, wanted to help the city and the people in a different type of context. And so I ran for city council. Married, my wife, June Jones. We've got a few kids. Jalen, Jocelyn, and Layla, and man, we're just living life here in the city, getting through this pandemic like everyone else, man.
I just like to thank your missus for coordinating this. I really appreciate it. So,
no problem.
Let me ask you this: so, what is it that a lot of ministers go into politics, and is it being a public servant for both things? Talk a little bit about that.
I think when you talk about social change. And really changing the dynamic and the systemic reality of individuals in the African American community. It's difficult. In the African American church, we do church, we do outreach, we do benevolence, we do all these things. But the one thing we don't do is system. And so the one thing we have in the African American church, we have large access. We have great access to black folk, because that's what we do. And so that's why politicians have always come to the African American church to talk to a large number of their polis to get their support, their support, volunteerism, and things of that nature. But the one thing the black church has always done, ministers have always held office and have run historically, simply because it's been the one place that African Americans, blacks, we could exercise our voice without fear of repercussion. Everyone loves to talk about, speaking truth to power until there's a cross outside, till you get fired.
That is true.
And that's the history of it. I'm able, and I was on a call with, members of the village this week, and I had to thank them. They provide a safe space that I can go out, do the things I do, say the things I say, and not worry about job security or, individuals leveling threats. No one can say when we're looking at these statues coming down, oh, well, we're going to call your boss and get you fired. Nah. And so the people of the village, they appreciate the fact that I'm vocal, that I'm out front, that I'm controversial at times. And controversy, only comes when you seek to challenge the status quo. So, in leading a congregation, black congregation, for so long, going on 2 decades, Mike, I got into this because, I'd go in, I could get a meeting with anyone in politics, right? Just as a pastor, they'd come through, they'd talk. and I'd share ideas, and they'd be like, hey, you know what, Pastor, that's a great idea. And then nothing ever changed. And so one year we were feeding in Monroe Park. We had fed every day, every weekend rather, rain, sleet, snow, whatever. We fed people who were homeless in Monroe Park. And one day we heard that the city was going to charge a permit fee. And I'm like, you're going to charge us a fee to feed people? I said, if you want to look and see, check, put us through some type of credentialing process to ensure that we're doing it up to health codes and things of that nature, that's one thing. But to just charge us, and so 50 of us from the village, we just showed up at a city council meeting, and we just made our presence felt and our voice heard. And after that, it was like, you know what, I'm tired of this. Let me just go on, so they can no longer shut the door with me on the outside, but now I'm on the inside having those conversations. And so I think it's not necessarily the popular thing. Black pastors have always run. We've always been active in social change. And, it's just good that we have people like Ralph Warnock, Floyd Flake up in New York that have been about this business.
Ladies and gentlemen, the voice you're listening to is the Reverend Dr. Mike Jones, City Councilman for the City of Richmond. Dr. Jones, so give our listeners an idea of what's going on with council. What do you see as the biggest changes and challenges going into 2021?
One, just making sure that we have coalesced around a certain number of goals. I think my first term, the challenge was you had 9 individual mini mayors just out for their own, and that's good because I want change in the 9th district. That's where you're broadcasting from German School Road, right in the heart of the 9th district. And so I want to make sure that and I've talked to our president of council about this, that what do we want to see as a group of 9, not just a particular project in each of our districts, but what do we hold to be true, and what do we want to see accomplished in the city? That's I think that was our Achilles heel last term, the last 4 years, and I think that's our great opportunity moving forward.
What do you think was the crowning achievement for you guys getting through the initial start of COVID?
I think the biggest part, I still have to recognize the job that the school board and the school system has done, to be perfectly honest. They took a group of people that, hey, parents don't teach, but they're at home teaching now. We got, the one-to-one technology with laptops. Unfortunately, it took CARES Act funding and a pandemic to make it happen. Some of the counties have had, for years, but we have that now, and we're seeing our children fed. And I think for us, the fact that we had already come up with a funding plan for schools to support schools, I think that's the biggest thing. The next thing would be the way we're impacting small businesses, right, with the different loans and or grants that the city itself has provided. We just came out with our tax amnesty program for small businesses. I got a little lippy with, the RTD when they called about our budget shortfall. And I'm like, I really don't care about a budget shortfall right now. I want to make sure that businesses are surviving. I want to make sure families, are surviving. Our mayor just announced that he's tested positive. My thing is for us to get through this, and it's all, for me, people over paving, people over potholes. That stuff will get fixed. Man, we got to get through these next 12 to 18 months and make sure the people we care about, are here, are thriving, and really looking to a bright future. So I think those are some of the things that we've done to just make sure that we're here. Man, I know in district right down the street from you, I partnered with a local business, and we handed out 10,000 masks to Southside residents. Things like that, getting people flu vaccine throughout this process. And so the little hands-on retail things that need to be done, those are the things that we've been doing on council.
So are the people who show up at Pastor Mike Jones' door and Councilman Mike Jones' door, are their concerns the same or they're different?
If we're talking about in general, or
in general,
if we're talking about in general, people's needs are the same. People are looking for economic mobility. People want to be able to feed their family. People want clean and safe neighborhoods. Those are things that I had pushed for in church as Pastor Mike Jones. We had a program called Cars for Christ. We've given away, close to 60 cars to single moms who need them. We would do that every New Year's Eve. And so, because people need to be able to get to work, people need to be able to take care of their family, get to and from. And so transportation on the South Side is a major issue. It's a major issue. And so that's where you see the intersectionality of Pastor Mike and, Councilman Mike, that, people are still looking to feed or still looking for food. We gave away, 3,000 turkeys. We've given away 3,000 turkeys each of the past Thanksgiving or going into Thanksgiving, partnered with Rosie's and said, all right, hey, you guys are going to make all this money. Y'all need to give back. So made sure that they did that. And these are all the things that I believed and carried through with a mind for liberation and black liberation theology from the seminary side. And so I've just allowed that to inform my life on council. And so it's telling Rosie's, look, partner with the closest school to you, make it look more like a marriage than a date. And they came back and said, we're going to donate $500,000 over 5 years to Miles Jones Elementary School. And so, this is just what I've been doing, and I'm just doing it from a council perspective, from a city's perspective, to leverage the influence that I have to impact people's daily lives. And I think that's what local government has to do, and we often forget that the legislation we write, how is it going to impact someone's ride home? How is it going to impact someone when they turn that light switch on?
Ladies and gentlemen, the voice you're listening to is Councilman Mike Jones. So a little kid who's out there looking at you, seeing what you do, a person is inspired and they want to get into politics. With the rough and tumble, because they want to make a difference, with the culture of politics these days, can you talk a little bit about what the commitment it takes when you throw your hat in the political ring and you want to make a difference? With all the things that have gone on, the shenanigans on whatever side it's been on, can we recover, and will people still want to run for office to be able to make a difference?
I think people always will. I think people are getting inspired when they see the Warnocks and the Ossoffs, when they see, Vice President Harris. I think people are being inspired. And I hope that people see what I do and get some amount of inspiration on a local level. And I would think, I would say the biggest thing is make sure they get educated. Get educated on what's going on, get educated on the facts, get educated on what's going on in your community, and get educated on what's going on in local politics.
Because a lot of times people don't realize, for all of the talking that we hear at the presidential level, the president, vice president, the people who are totally impacting your world, council, commissioners, people like that. Explain to our listeners why that is.
Why what is?
Why the
matters? Why?
How the people at the local level have more of an impact on your life, that you're totally involved, whether it's school board or those things. When you hear what happens at the national level, that's one thing. But what goes on at the local level totally impacts people's lives on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and you know what? I had a conversation with Pete Buttigieg over this, and I told him my philosophy is that all politics is local, and everyone needs to change their praxis to ensure that whatever legislation I write, it has to meet and arrive at someone's dinner table. That's just something I hold to be. That's one of my presuppositions I lay down. No matter where I go, does it hit someone's front door, right? But, yeah, local, yeah, I can make a phone call for a neighbor to get their ditch cleaned, right? Because that's a part of the local government. And so you do get a greater sense of immediacy in what you do, right? And that's kind of like church. You know, someone calls up, hey, Pastor, we need this bill paid, or this person got evicted. Can you help? And so there, again, is the intersectionality of ministry and local government. But again, that's the one thing I love about council is making sure that, okay, yeah, I can get some things done right around this corner that, you know, maybe they've had a difficult time connecting with city services, or maybe they've been overlooked, maybe they're disenfranchised because it's taken so long. And so, you know, I can get, this is something that we've done in my district. We would go on neighborhood walks. We would get everyone from the administration, you know, director of the Department of Public Utilities, Public Works, call center, and we would just walk neighborhoods and talk to people and find out what the issues were, invite them out. And, you know, things got done. Like literally, they would say, you know what, it's kind of hard making this left turn on Swanson right here because of this bush. And, you know, Torrance Robinson would write that down, and a week later it's gone. And so that feels kind of good. That's real for people. That's a big part of their everyday life. And so local government gives you that sense of immediacy that I did something, and wow, it's I drove by and it's changed.
All righty, it's Councilman Mike Jones. Your congratulations on the second term of council. What's next for you, sir?
What's next? You know, I'm not supposed to make an official announcement until.
Well, that's what we do here. You've heard the man say this is the best business radio program around. If you want to drop some,
like Jay-Z.
Don't say that. Now, our producer's name is Al Green. He keeps me in check because he doesn't want me to get in trouble. Just because a person sounds like somebody.
Don't mean it is somebody. No, I am going to, on February 1st, officially announce a run for the General Assembly, the 69th House District, which is comprised of majority of the neighborhoods in the south side of Richmond. So we will announce. That is my goal. I am running for the House of Delegates.
All righty. On the phone, ladies and gentlemen, is Councilman Mike Jones making that big announcement here. The time's 1:52. If you have any questions for him, you can give us a shout, 804-778-8888. Explain to our listeners, so you're, it's District 9, correct?
9th District, yes, sir.
You're around the city. How do you guys interact, and how do you build a coalition to get things done? Like, I remember there was a big, contention with the Navy Hill project. How do you go about, and you guys work with things to get things, maybe not at that level done, but to make government work where you guys are really saying, okay, it's a little bit of give and take, but the citizens win in the end?
Well, I think it's when we keep first things first, that this is about the citizens and not just about our own individual politics. And I think that was some of the trouble with Navy Hill, that for me it's just a business deal. I mean, I've done several of those in my life. And so, you know, I'm not married to any one thing. It's what is the best solution, the best result for the people that it's going to impact. And so I think we know that on council. We just have different ways of getting there. And as long as we have open dialogue and people lay their cards on the table, we'll kind of get there. But, you know, the biggest thing is making sure that we continue to enter into open dialogue. And the biggest piece is we want to hear from the community. I think if there's one learning that we could take away from the whole Navy Hill process, we need to get the community involved early, right? And then, you know, then continue the process as we move to and through.
All righty, sir. Thank you. How can our listeners get in touch with you?
Man, my wife will hem me up if I don't plug, you know, my website and my socials.
That's right, because your social media is on fire, and I'm sure that, you know, I want things to be okay at home, so go ahead and do what you're supposed to do,
man,
sir.
Most definitely. You can find out about more for Mike Jones for Delegate at MikeJonesForDelegate.com. That's Mike, all lowercase, Mike Jones for Delegate, FOR, delegate.com. That's how you get access our website, find out about my platform, my socials on Instagram and on Twitter. It's the Dr. Mike Jones, THEDR, Mike Jones. And if you say who, I'll still answer
Mike Jones.
and say Mike Jones.
Can I ask you a question, sir?
Dr. Mike Jones.
Were
Yes,
you
sir.
always a Mike, or were you a Michael at some point? Because, you know, my mother was disappointed when I became Mike. She said I named you Michael, but were you always a Mike, or have you become a Mike?
Because I grew up, my dad was a Navy SEAL, so he did stints with SEAL Team 2 and 1, and so that took us out to California. So I kind of liked Michael because, you know, all the surfer dudes were Mike, right? So it was like, call me Michael. And then my sister called me Big Mike, and that's the nickname I picked up going to and through. When my mother was mad, it was Michael Joseph. And so
Well, she came with the whole thing.
Yeah, she came with the whole government name. But so as long as people call me, and just I don't care what they call me, as long as they call me.
I understand. Fine. Hey, congratulations on all the things that you're doing. You know, kudos to you. When you need a platform, give us a shout here, sir.
Man, love to come and talk to you about my race for delegate.
That's right. Hey, we got a spot for you.
Indeed.
All right, ladies and
Appreciate
gentlemen, running for delegate Mike Jones, city councilman, pastor. So my sister's a preacher, so she's going to be, thrilled I talked to you because I'm doing the right thing. So just trying to keep things right.
Let me go and plug that as well, villagesfaith.net. We're on every Sunday, 11 a.m. We're still preaching and teaching every Wednesday night. Got to teach tonight, 6 o'clock p.m., Facebook Live, Google Village of Faith, or Mike Jones for Delegate, and you can stay in touch with us.
All right, appreciate it. I'd like to thank you for your time, sir. Take care.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to thank